Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art and I teach watercolor. We do a new tutorial every single week, and this week we're doing cowboy boots.
Yeehaw!
Does that match the yeehaw? Maybe
Yes.
a little?
Yeah.
That is my husband Michael. He'll be filming the tutorials with me, for me. This is also my brand new son Arlo. Is he sleeping? Can you see him good?
Yeah, he's out cold.
You might hear him snore or something, but he'll be okay. We are doing this project in 5 steps. So the very first step, we will be painting the boots. Second step, we'll be adding the shadows on the boots to give it a little bit more form. Third step, we'll be doing the soles of the boots and also the detailing. Fourth step is the plants, and fifth step is just any final details, and you're done. That's it. We are going to be using 2 paintbrushes for this project. A Princeton Heritage Series round 6 and round 2. We named them, and the larger one is Keenan and the smaller one is Brock. And they're our go-to brushes. So if you're going to paint any projects with us, you basically just need to buy these 2 brushes and you can do like 95% of our watercolor projects.
Also, if you need friends, if you have the 2 of them in real life, it's about 95% of all you need.
They're all you need in life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we are using, how many colors? 5 colors. And I'm gonna do new piles because they bled together. You can see here that I use a Butcher palette tray, which I thoroughly enjoy because my colors mix. That might bother people, but I like it. It makes it easier to like pick up how much paint I need, get a bunch of different colors. It's a good time. Okay, so the 5 colors we are using, first one is Tahoe Blue. Second one is Fuchsia. Third color is Burnt Orange. Fourth color is Deep Yellow. And the 5th color is Amethyst. Yeah, I had to check that name.
Every time I see Tahoe Blue, makes me a little nostalgic. I don't know if y'all know this, but we're from that area of the world.
We are. I named this color blue after Lake Tahoe.
I miss you, Lake Tahoe. You're my boy.
Lake
Blue.
Tahoe, you are so beautiful. Okay, also I moved my mic down here. Is that weird to place a mic on your baby?
No, because it won't rub on your clothes as much.
Okay, great. Okay, so we are going to do the outline, then our oath, then warm-ups, and then paint. You guys are free to skip ahead if you've been with us a while and maybe you're like, Sarah, I have that oath etched in my heart, in my soul.
You can skip, but you're really just cheating yourself.
Yeah. Is that too aggressive? Nah.
No, because I said it.
Okay,
I'm
you're
not the
right.
teacher.
If I was the one that I was just
Yeah.
like, listen, don't do this. Okay, so.
She paid me to say that.
And I slip you another 5 right there. Okay, so the outline comes with your kit or your subscription. If you don't have either, you can still absolutely get this outline for free on our website. I'm going to tape it down so then that way it doesn't move while I'm tracing. And then I'm going to get some graphite paper. Now, I just want to tell you guys about graphite paper that if you have a brand new sheet, well, okay, let me make this point first. They're totally reusable and reusable for a very long time, and actually they get better with age. If you have a brand new sheet of graphite paper, this one was brand new. What I do to help it with the 4 strong creases that are in there from folding is you crinkle the whole thing up really tight. What?
You're a monster. That thing was so beautiful yesterday.
I know, but because there are such strong folds that it shows up when you're tracing, even when you don't mean to. So if you crinkle it up, it kind of evens it out and smooths it out. And then what I do too is I rub this on a clean piece of white paper. I'll show you. I already did it, but kind of like this. And flatten it out. And that's just going to pick up any extra graphite. So then it's not as sensitive.
So you're telling me we could get into the pre-used graphite paper market and upcharge for it?
Yes. It's like when people buy ballet shoes. Have you seen?
Uh-uh.
I don't do ballet, but I watched a movie
Wait,
on
you
ballet.
don't do ballet?
No, I wish I did. And they like get ballet shoes and then they like tear them apart to like form to their feet, kind of. professional ballets. This is solely based on a single movie that I have seen, so don't know if that's true. But anyways, let's move on. Okay, so
you researched it. That's the hot
researched
topic.
it.
I researched it.
Okay, so you put the graphite paper dark, shiny side down. Then you're going to take a pen or whatever you have. You can even use the back of your paintbrush and trace. And I usually like to do a line or two, and then I lift up my paper to see how dark or how light it is. If it's too dark, I do lighter pressure. If it's too light, I just press harder. Try and make it as light as you possibly can while still being able to kind of see what's going on, because watercolor is transparent, which means you will see these pencil lines through your painting. And there are a lot of detail lines on this, aren't there?
Who drew this?
Who made this project? Also, I did do a slight outline of the leaves to give you guys general composition tips. You do not have to trace these. I usually, when I do, like, we have one other tutorial with boots. I think it's the rain boots. And I don't have any flowers outlined in that one because I wanted you guys to just freehand it. But then I realized that if I put it in there, then some of you, if you need it, you can use it. And if you don't need it, then you don't have to trace it and you can just do whatever you want. So I thought it was a safe bet to just include it. I also didn't trace all of it because my goal wasn't for you to copy mine exactly, because that's never the goal with these, but just to give you tips of the composition, because sometimes people will do the plants straight up instead of kind of letting them fan out, which just gives very strong implied lines in your composition. So I just wanted to help you out on that end. Okay, now we're going to do our oath. So if you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
I promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
And I promise to have fun.
Okay, warm-ups. So we're just going to go over values and leaves and layering. So values is all about the lightness and darkness of a color. They're essentially what you need if you want to make something that has form. That's the difference between a circle and a sphere. The shape is the same, except the values on it are different, and one of them makes it look three-dimensional and the circle looks two-dimensional. So it's very important whenever you are drawing, painting, whatever medium you're using, if you want it to seem three-dimensional, you need to have a range of values. Now the nice thing about watercolor is that to get a lighter value, all you have to do is add water. Usually in oil painting or acrylic you need to add some white paint. We don't got to do that here, which is really why I love watercolor. It's like simpler, you know what I mean? It's just like wham bam, I just need some water and I could paint. Thank you, ma'am.
Nice.
It's fine. It's fine. I got about 3 hours of sleep last night. We're doing good. We're doing great. Okay, so get your paintbrush wet, hit it off the side of the cup so it's not dripping, and pick up a color, any color you want, and paint. Okay, this is a dark value because it's mostly paint. And then if I dip my paintbrush a couple times, hit it off the side of the cup, and paint more, it's a lighter value. And just keep on going. And you can see here with just one color and water, the range of value we can get, okay? So this kind of, all of this in between, this is what we're looking for when we're painting. So remember, just to make a lighter value, you just need more water. I will say that sometimes people get a little bit tripped up on that, thinking that they need to have lots of water on their brush. That's not the case because you will then get pools on your paper. So basically what that means is it's the same amount of water, but you're picking up less paint, okay? And then that way you can still get a light value without having a puddle on your paper. Okay, so I was just going to quickly go over leaves. How I like to do leaves is I'm going to mix my yellow and my blue to get a green. And then I like to kind of draw. I like to draw my top leaf first, like so, and then just fill it in. Now with leaves, you just want to make sure, for me, what I try and do is that it's narrow at the bottom, thick in the middle, and narrow at the top, okay? If your leaves are looking pickly, which is what some people have said about their leaves, it's usually because their leaves are looking like this. You know what I mean? If you paint a leaf like that, it's not a big deal. You could just reshape it. Just kind of sharpen up the bottom, sharpen up the top. Okay. Yes?
Beautiful.
Okay. And then the last thing I was just going to show you guys is watercolor is transparent, so you can layer on top of each other, which is what we'll do with our boots when we add the values. But I just want to show you, this is my purple that I've already done. And if I wanted to add like a shadow or a darker value on this lighter value, I can just paint right on top. Like so. I probably should have done a different color.
Meh.
So there's a pink, and you can still see the purple underneath. Okay? That's all I wanted to show you. That was it. All right, let's get started. So for our very first step, we are going to paint the boots. So I need to get a brown color, but we don't have brown. But that's okay, because brown is essentially like dark orange, and we have burnt orange already. So I'm going to mix my burnt orange with my fuchsia. And that is looking like a really bright red. So to tone that down a little bit, I'm going to grab a little bit of purple or amethyst. And now I have more of a brown. I'm going to grab some water because I want this wash to be a little bit lighter. And I'm also going to throw in some yellow because I want a warm brown. I'm a huge fan of like yellow orangey browns as opposed to like gray browns. Okay. And now I'm just going to paint over my boots. Okay. Now I know that some of you will think that this part is like, how do I say this, like precious, like it has to be done perfectly, and I'm here to tell you it does not. Try and actually do it fairly fast, because then you won't get as many like hard lines. However, the nature of how these paints work with this paper is you will get blooms, and quite frankly, embrace them because they're so wonderful, super interesting. They make your work unique. They're my favorite part of painting with watercolor. So if you start getting these kind of blooms and hard edges right here, you are not doing it wrong, okay? So don't think that you're messing up or that this isn't for you, because you're not, and it is. So again, still just using my brown. I'm kind of just doing an even wash right now, not super paying attention to the shadows or the values just yet. If some areas are a little bit lighter, that's not a huge deal either. Okay, so that is step one. You did it. Congratulations. Your boots are there. The second step is putting in the shadows. You are going to want to make sure that your painting is more on the drier side before you attempt this. If this is very wet, then any of these dark values that you put in will just diffuse out and even out, and they won't kind of keep where we want to keep them. So this one is still damp, but I think it's dry enough that I can keep going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make a darker brown using the same colors, just a little bit more paint that I will be picking up. Okay, so, and you can see where I kind of have it outlined where we're going to be putting in our shadows. So we have one on the heel. Now, I will say that the problem with working with outline sometimes is people want to kind of color block like this. But usually, unless you're doing fine details, you always want to transition out. So I put in that shadow, and then I'm going to rinse my brush and just kind of blend that edge out a little bit so it's not so hard. Okay, and you're going to want to do that for most of these shadows. So I'm putting in the shadow here, and again we're putting in this to kind of form the boot a little bit, give it a little bit more shape. Then I'm going to rinse my brush and blend out. Because if we don't do that, then these shadows won't necessarily read as like forms. They'll be more like, why are there like cow spots all over the boots? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then here, I am going to leave a little thin line between the first two boots so it's clear that they're not one unit. And then up at the top, and then this like extra layer of leather on the top, that little strap, there would be a shadow underneath that. That's how we communicate that something is pushed back farther in the composition, is it's a darker value. And you can do a little couple extra swipes here and there to get that kind of more worn leather look. Gosh, I just love a good brown, you know what I mean? And if you want to like go crazy with the color, where if you're like, I want a strong hint of orange in this. I mean, like, I am a huge fan of just dropping in random colors just to see. So like if I just wanted like a strong orange in there, it just kind of really warms up some of the areas.
Or make blue cowboy boots. It's your life.
It's your life. You can do whatever you want.
Tahoe blue boots.
Oh yeah.
Joe Exotic boots.
Joe Exotic. What would those would be?
Snakeskin.
Snakeskin, or he would probably have like American flag, like all with rhinestones.
Or like a lion's mane.
Yes. Like instead of leaves, it would be like tufts of fur.
You guys haven't watched that show. You should watch it. What was it called?
Tiger King. Don't watch it with kids.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay. So we got so I added some warmth in there, which for me, I just love doing things like that because I feel like it gives it a little bit more dimension, just adding like strong color underneath. I'm a huge fan. Okay, now we're gonna do our back boot. Now we wanna make sure that this area right here on our back boot is a darker value than both of these boots, like any area, it needs to be the darkest value because we're really trying to communicate this boot is behind this one. So we have to have a stronger shadow and value to push it back. If it's the same exact value, then they're going to appear on the same plane. So in order to push it back onto a different plane, darker value. So that just means probably more purple. And if that's reading too much, I'm going to put some orange back in there and some yellow.
Is there a point of no return in these mixed paints? Can you get like, well, that's just ruined? Do you ever get to that point?
Explain more.
Like the brown. Okay, I'll add more purple. You're like, oh, nope, more orange. Me, I feel like I would spiral into oblivion and it would just turn into nothing.
Okay. No, there really is no like point where you're like, this is like dead and lost, unless unless a color that you didn't mean to mix in there goes in there. But for the most part, the reason why I like color mixing is because you can just keep on going, just keep adding. And sometimes that gets frustrating. I know that for me, if that happens and I just keep on adding and it's still not doing what I'm doing, sometimes I'll start again just to like give myself a clean slate. Or sometimes I'll just like put it down and I'll just be like, whatever, I can always neutralize it on the painting itself too. Yeah, the only time like if I wanted to do like a really pretty soft pink and if I accidentally got like black in there, you can't come back from that.
I think this is the kind of confidence that people like need to see in a teacher, because me, I know if I were at home painting solo and I started to go like a little too off on one color brown, I would just give up.
Yeah, and I know that that's a tendency because it's scary, like being like, oh shoot, I don't know what's going on here. But trust me, that happens to me all the time, and I'm just like, well, as long as you know the complementary colors, you can come back from it. So it's like, gosh, this brown like all of a sudden has this weird green tint to it. Okay, what's the opposite of green? Red, which in our case we'll use fuchsia. I'll add fuchsia and that will neutralize the green. And that is just how my mind goes as I'm painting. It's very common, and it just takes a little bit of like confidence practice. And if you're not there yet, just like fake it till you're there, and then you'll get there.
If you want to make beautiful paintings like Sarah Cray, just daydream about Oreo thins all the time. And then this will come out.
Just literally eat Oreo thins all the time. And that's all you need. That's my secret weapon, really.
Need some inspiration? Oreo thins.
Why are you so good at painting? Because my diet consists of Oreo thins.
They keep me thin. What's in the name?
Okay. So now you guys can see, if you were to like go back to our very first wash across this, these have more form to them, right? I feel like you can almost like reach out and feel how worn that leather is now. So good job, you guys are doing great. I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow in there because I just love that.
Okay, I'm sorry I'm chatty now, but I've noticed on your, what is that called, demonstration image and your current painting, you leave a little strip of white between the boots. Is that on purpose?
It is on purpose, and that's mostly because of how fast I'm working, that this is possibly still wet.
Oh, you just don't want it to bleed?
I just don't want it to bleed, and then most of the time it's not like distracting enough for me to go back and like touch it in. So usually when I'm trying to work with different values together that are close together, I usually give myself just a really thin line of like safety instead of going all the way to that edge, because there is a big chance that that will bleed.
Sweet.
Okay, so we did step 2. Good job. The other thing that I just want to acknowledge, you guys, is because we're mixing brown using all these different colors, it's possible that as this dries, other colors are going to come through more. If you're using the Dr. P.H. Martin, that is something that happens pretty regularly with that paint, is even if you mix it on your palette brown, as it dries, you might get hints of pink or green. I embrace those, and I think they're super cool. So if that's happening to you, you're not doing it wrong. That's the nature of these paints, okay? I love it.
It would make sense that the different colors like dry at different rates and stuff.
Yeah, they just kind of pop out. But some people they think that they're like, oh no, what am I doing wrong? Or what's wrong with this paint? And it's like, no, that's just a cool thing that does. You can even see in this reference photo here, I have a pop of pink right there and green right there. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Just the nature of the paints. And I like it. And I bet you didn't even really notice that until I pointed it out. But if you were doing that on your own, you would notice it on your own and think you were doing it wrong. You're not. Okay. Step 3, we're going to do the soles. So we're going to mix a dark value. Try and mix black. So I'm going to start off with purple. And I'm going to grab some of my blue.
That is such a good purple.
Isn't it a good purple? Mm. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of my burnt orange. There we go. So basically we're trying to make like a gray color that has undertones of purple or blue, that when the paint is together tightly like this, it looks black. Now, when you're painting, even though we're painting an area that is black, when we're painting it, it doesn't actually have to be black. It just needs to read black. Does that make any sense? No.
No, that's
Okay.
a big negative.
Okay, so for example, if I were to do this color next to this orange, even though if I look at the close-up of this color, it's really a dark purple, but next to this orange, this looks black, right? Does that look black on the screen to you? So that's what I'm saying is, like, sometimes when we're mixing, we're so like, no, it's too much of one color, it's not going to come across, or people are going to be confused. As long, like, seriously, test it on a scratch paper, and if you put that on the sole of a boot, which are usually black, your brain is automatically going to be like, oh, that's black. Okay? So, the blackest part on the sole is actually this little triangle right here, the little dip that we see underneath of the heel. So I'm going to paint that in first. Okay? And then I'm going to grab a little bit of water, mix in some orange there, and I'm going to paint the rest of the sole, leaving, again, a really thin white line in between so these colors don't bleed together.
I can hear a little Bubba breathing.
Too loud?
No, just cute.
Okay. And then even though we have an outline, sometimes doing a really straight line is hard. So if you, like, I feel like this curve got maybe a little bit too strong right here. So I'm just going to kind of thicken out this bottom one to match that curve. That looks better. Okay. And then the black one, back one. Okay, looks good. And now we are going to do the detailing on our boot. Now, if you are a subscriber, in your box, you should have gotten a Micron pen. You could use this to detail if you want. I'll just kind of demonstrate what that looks like here. So this is me kind of doing some stitching. Okay, or you can use your round 2. Just make sure you get a darker value brown of whatever value you're painting on top of. You can use the black to mix in there if you need a little bit of help, because if you don't make it a darker value, it won't show up. So just vertical hold, light pressure. Also, if you guys have looked at how many stitching details there are on boots, like, I didn't even do them all. I just did like a few because it's a lot. There's a lot on there. What?
I was just thinking of when we went to Nashville to see your sister, and I went into that boot store, and it was just like giant wall-to-wall boots.
Oh, they were so cool.
It smelled so good in there.
Oh, I love the smell of leather. Okay, remember, I'm going to do the little thin seams. Now remember, this line is not going to be perfectly straight up and down because we're following the shape of the boot as if it was a three-dimensional form. And it kind of rounds out here, goes in because there's a little bit of wrinkle, and then it kind of pops back out. I forgot to, is it on the outline? It is, I just forgot to trace it. That's okay. You can just eyeball it. But these are some pretty thin lines, so if you're getting a hard time doing your brush, then you can just use your micron pen.
I've been thinking lately, it's something I like to think about, that there's no prize for doing things the hard way most of the time. You know, if the micron pen would work just as easy and look as good, use the micron pen.
Yeah, for sure. The only thing that it might be a problem is if your boots are a really, really light brown, because then that black would stand out a little bit too much because of the value differences. But, I mean, looking at this, you can't really tell that that was done with the micron pen and this was done with paint.
Nope.
So really, you do you. You guys, you do what's best for you. I just wanted to add another shadow on this. And you're allowed to do that, okay? Just because you're following my steps, that doesn't mean if you like moved on and then you notice something that you can't go back to fix it. Like, you guys can do whatever you want. Okay, and then the detailing on the back boot. I forgot to put the shadow there. Doing it now. And this one you can't see like a super lot of, oh, there's one right here. Oh gosh, I did not do a good job tracing on this one. If there's a piece you missed on your outline, don't stress, just eyeball it.
Eat some Oreo Thins and move on.
Eat some Oreo Thins and move on, it's gonna be okay. Okay, there are boots. Darn, I love those boots. Gosh, I love that color in there. Now, we're going to move on to our fourth step, which is the plants. I'm going to move to my round 6 because I'm going to be doing larger areas. And to mix green, you're going to mix your deep yellow and your blue. If you want a warmer green, you're going to add more yellows or the burnt oranges. If you want more of a turquoise green, you're going to add more of the Tahoe blue. I like to do a range of of greens. You can see here that's more of a turquoise green. Here's a lighter green. Those are more regular greens. I like to mix it up. It's up to you though. This is your painting. Also, if you mix your green together, let's say you mix the yellow and the blue and the green is just so vibrant that it's distracting, throw in a tiny bit of fuchsia in there and that will neutralize the green, tone it down and desaturate it. And I'm just gonna start adding my leaves. So I'm just going to draw it out, fill it in.
I wish I was a really good animator. I would draw you an entire episode, Magic School Bus style, where you, the teacher, led us through the color wheel. But
I didn't watch the Magic School Bus enough to know what that would look like. Is this a problem?
Yes, Magic School Bus was so good.
Okay, the other things I really like about doing leaves is you have all of this room to work with doing like fun techniques. So this is nice and wet and I can drop in some color in there and just let that kind of move on its own. Like there's some yellow and I just have this whole fun area to play. So I really like painting leaves. Maybe add some.
What kind of plant you think you got coming out of that boot?
I don't know enough about plants. What do you think? You know plants.
It's hard to tell, Sarah.
You're like, these are leaves. This one's more of a eucalyptus, and these are like the weeds in the fields.
Mm-hmm.
That's as technical as I can get. That's a basic leaf. That's a eucalyptus. Those are weeds. Now, if you guys are kind of freehanding this, first of all, congratulations on being brave, because that's a scary thing to do. But I kind of mentioned this in the warm-ups, but just to kind of touch on it again, is if you want this kind of bouquet to feel more big, you're going to want to do a lot and make sure that the directions of the plants go like this. Fan out. If you do it straight up and down too much, then your composition, your viewer's eye is just going to go, and its eye is going to go straight up off of the page, okay? So we kind of want to keep it fanned like this, so then our viewer's eyes kind of goes more in a circular motion, which is what we want. We usually want our viewer to like stay and look at the painting. Can you hear him snoring?
Yeah.
Tell me if it's too distracting.
This is what the people pay for, snoring babies.
This is really what they want. I know they're not here for me. It's fine. Okay. And you can make some leaves bigger. They don't all have to be the same size. If anything, it's hard. Your brain is going to want to make them all the same size and evenly spaced and the same green, because our brain really likes pattern, and it will make pattern even when we're not, like if we're not paying attention, it's going to make a pattern. So kind of mess things up on purpose. Throw some curveballs in there. I'm going to do some stronger blues because why not? And I'm just dropping it in and I'm letting it bleed out and do its own thing. Ooh, that's a pretty green.
Do you have a rough estimate of how many paintings you've painted in your life?
I don't know.
100?
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
It would have to be in the thousands. Okay. Oh, and the other thing is make sure they're actually coming out of the boot. Don't like do a stem. I mean, you can, unless it could be like grass around. Listen, it's your painting. You can do whatever you want. But if you want to make it look like it's coming out of the boot, have all the stems originate out of the boot. Sometimes I say things and then I'm like, was that a necessary thing to say? I don't know. Another trick that I like to do if I want to make something feel full, because right now these are looking pretty sparse, right? It's like there's 4 stems. So what I do is I just take green paint and just kind of where it will be coming out of the boot, I either just take water and blend, or I just drop in some colors, and I'm going to drop in some different values. And I'll add more, but all of a sudden it looks more full down here. Yes? Do you know what can you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to switch to my 2. And if you want more of a eucalyptus color, it'd be more blue, a little bit of yellow for the green, and like a little bit of purple to like gray it up. Eucalyptus is a really desaturated color. Okay. Now now I'm going to be doing like the weeds, so I'm going to be using my round 2 and kind of long skinny lines. So light pressure, vertical hold, and then it's just going to do from the top, you kind of just fan it out like this. And grab some more paint, and I just kind of do like a scalloped edge. Do you know what I'm painting right here? Like, have you ever picked one of those and then run your fingers across the opposite way so all these little things like fall off?
They're seeds.
Are they?
Yeah, it's grass seed. Well,
Little
whatever
seeds?
plant it is.
That was my favorite thing. I used to play soccer a lot, so I was in the field a lot, and I would just pick these up and run my fingers backwards on it so all of these would just pop off. It just was so satisfying. Okay, and then I'm gonna do some weeds coming out this way.
While you're painting, I was reading that if you recently bought a puppy, you need to make sure that you like spend time away from it because it's getting used to you being around all the time, and when you do have to go back to work after the whatever, it will be heartbroken. So you should spend like an hour a day away from each other.
Oh, that's so sad. And the puppy will be like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
That's so sad. Okay, whoa. My composition got really, like, big. So, okay, this is a good lesson. If I were to leave it just like this, for me as a viewer, that would be distracting because it's really heavy right here with really like strong lines coming out to the point where it feels like disjointed because I'm like, okay, I have one layer here that's like sharp and strong and then another like lower heavy. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I need something to bring them together, and that is what like these guys are for here. So I'm going to get some green. And I'm going to do an in-between shape, like in between the size of these two, and put those in there. And again, I just want to say, like, this is looking kind of messy, and that is okay. If you look at my example here, some of these I didn't even paint in. They were like sketched in. And that is your artistic choice. You can fill them in. You can make them look as realistic as possible, or you can just kind of leave it nice and loose. It really just depends on my mood. And you guys have the right to change your mind depending on, you know, how you're feeling when you're painting. Okay, so already I'm starting to feel like, okay, we're bringing this back together. We're kind of in the same world here. And I'm going to do a couple like sketched ones because I actually really liked how that looked. So I'm just using my paintbrush to kind of just outline. Well, that's cool. So,
And a new plant was born.
I don't know. I think this is what I really like about art and creating is like, I can do this if I want to because this is my world that I'm creating. And so, like, you guys have every right to be like, no, I just want my plants to have outlines in my world. You have that right. Okay, and I need to do some yellow and do kind of some yellow like dots. And sometimes they're attached to something and sometimes they're not. I mean, look at this one. I have little yellow dots right here. It's not attached to anything. That's okay.
Its stem is hidden.
You guys can do stuff like that, you know? I feel like I need one more thing coming out this way and then I'll feel good.
This is not the time to put like a highlighter pink flower in, right? It'll just kind of ruin the composition.
If you do put like a highlighter flower pink or purple, it depends. If you're doing it to draw the eye where you want it to be the focal point, you can get away with just doing one. For me, that would be a little bit too strong. So I would have to like put in little pieces of pink or purple throughout the thing so then it doesn't just seem so random.
I also just had a cute idea. Sorry, I'm jumping all over.
Yeah.
He painted 4 of these, like one for every season. He did like a Christmas one. It had like little holly berries and stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then he did like a spring one with a bunch of flowers.
You know, actually, when we did the rain boots, I think that was back in 2018, I saw them show up a lot on Christmas cards, actually.
It's really cute.
It was so cute. They would do hollies or candy canes or something like that. Okay, that's our boot composition. You guys did awesome. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with, how you guys decide to make this your own. You can absolutely change the colors. You can change the plants. There's so many things you can change. Don't be afraid to branch out and just try things. That's the fun of making stuff, is experimenting, and that's how you learn. If you need any of these supplies, you can find them at letsmakeart.com. And if you paint, we want to see it. We like seeing what people come up with and how they make it their own and share it. So you can tag us on Instagram at Let's Go Make Art or hashtag Let's Make Art. Those are 2 different words, and I'm very sorry about that. And if you're on Facebook, we have a wonderful Facebook community that we created just for the sole purpose of you guys being able to share what you paint. It makes it easier to try new things when you have a supportive community behind you, and we are that. We are your cheerleaders, you guys. So that is called Let's Make Art Watercolor. Post there. That's all I gotta say, I think.
Good luck.
Good luck. Oh, Arlo's peeking out. You guys want to see him again? Oh, so cute. Look how cute he is. Can you see his
Oh, he's
chubby?
sleeping. Yep.
Can you see his chubby cheeks?
Yeah. Oh, he's mad.
Oh, sorry. Okay. You guys are awesome. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.